And here we go back at it on a gorgeous Friday afternoon here. In fact, late Friday morning, 11:36 a.m. on the nose at beautiful Gulfstream Park. Those postcard palm trees, as we like to say, standing in attention out there, guarding the infield lake, and things are quiet and still for the time being, but that will change in less than 60 minutes time as we run the first of 10 on, again, another sun-drenched Friday here at GP. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti, happy to have you with us, everybody. And this is, Ronnie, not only an outstanding Friday card, but kind of leads us into like the first real, I think, mega weekend with those key Pegasus preps tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, if you got a chance to look at Saturday's races, boy, the Fort Lauderdale just came up fantastic. I mean, there's some really nice races on the Saturday's card, but, so you need some money, so you got to try and win either the Stronach 5 today or the Rainbow 6. You got to get some scuttle, as we say.
You do, and there'll be big pools, I mean six-figure pools, and then some in both of those popular multi-race wagers. However, what won't be a big pool as far as a denomination is concerned is our free-to-play Beat the Expert. And sure enough, on this opening, or I should say second Friday card of the meet, which is our opening round in the 2020-2021 Beat the Expert contest, I'll be on deck. You've got until post time, which is a hardline 12:35 Eastern, to sign up and play for free. And, Ronnie, it is always a good time. I hope we have north of 200 people taking me on today. And, again, you've got nothing to lose other than maybe some bragging rights if you don't play.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get a chance to win one of those cool polo shirts, and both Jason and I tweeted out the link. So if you follow us on Twitter, all you got to do is click on it, and the most important part, it's free, and you get those bragging rights. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to play.
Definitely, and the same goes for the Rainbow Six, which a week and a half ago I think was 50 or 60,000 on that opening day card, and sure enough, we're over a $500,000 strong regarding the guarantee. Ronnie, as usual, will have a ticket forthcoming, very solid 9th race and 10th race, which obviously serves as the grand finale of the wonderful Pay Price, and more on him and his career and his chances in a few minutes. Let's dive into the opening pick 5 on the day. You've got a favorite in the first race. Ronnie and I were just talking off camera about what to do with the 5 Montané, who I took on top. Don't fully trust him. I'd rather single. My first real opinion is in the 4th today in Jade Empress, and I'd rather single there than a horse who's probably going to be an underlaid favorite no matter what in the 12:35 Eastern opener. I obviously also included the 6 Grand Union. I hated using 3. If I'm being honest, Ronnie, I hated using half the field in the second, but I mean, do you want to leave out Bold Envoy, who's a weird-looking horse reunited with Todd Pletcher, and get beat by him?
Yeah, I used him too. I mean, you got to have him on the ticket, along with the logical horses, Reserved, Not Attained, and Wickster's Dream. But Bold Envoy, this is where Todd jumps up, especially at the winter meet here where he gets you. So you got to sort of use your tickets. You were lucky enough to find that single, so a very affordable $27.
A couple of key layoffs, none more important than the deuce in the 3rd race. Makasupa coming back for E5, and David Fox. As I was saying, I like the Florida bred in against Florida breds today in the 4th. In the Bilmont-trained Jade Empress, my single, and a 1-2-5 closing things out. And Ronnie likes the rail horse in the 5th race, the number 1 Hard Red Candy, who, Ronnie, it seems like every time I look up at the screen, and a field is approaching the 8th pole or the 16th pole, it seems like more often than not, Paco has been riding the winner here.
Yeah, I looked up this morning. He is the leading rider right now. I think he's 1 ahead or 2 ahead of the guys, right behind him. So very early in the jockey standings, but he's riding great, Paco.
Yeah, already 12 wins for Paco. He's 2 in front of Louis with 10, and Edgar right behind them with 8. Looking at this first race, you've got Tyler Gaffalione, in fact, riding the 5 Montané, who I'm going to argue, despite not blowing me away on paper, I'm going to argue this gelding because he is, and the appeal is first-time Mike Maker on this circuit. I'm going to argue that hopefully Paradise Farms Corp and or Mike saw this horse, and the fact that his turf race may have been, I think the argument's there that the best race this gelding by Byron has ever run was back on that yielding Ellis Park turf course in late July. And maybe that prompted them to jump in and claim this horse, get him down to Florida, and try him in a turf race. I'm going to take Montané, but clearly, you've got at least a little bit of reservation there, Ronnie. I would imagine you felt as though this horse might be overbet when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I just wasn't totally sold on him. He stuck the pace. He finished fourth. It was against 15 maidens, going sixth on the Churchill main track. Maybe they say, he's a $300,000 gelded son of Bayron. Maybe that was he should love the grass with that breeding. But I did go with the number 7, Vicmar. He's a gelded son of Revolutionary, debuting for Efren Loza Jr. with a couple of solid turf workouts, showing him preparation for this race. And you're getting Paco Lopez. And I said, hey, you know what? Let me go with a horse like this. Paco's been riding good form. And Efren Loza Jr., we've been singing his praises. He doesn't start many horses, but they usually run well.
Definitely. Very good trainer that is very adept at just picking his spots and getting in, getting the money, and getting out. And as a side note, Ronnie, looking at the 7 Vicmar, when's the last time you saw Seattle Slew's name in the immediate pedigree? He is the damn sire of SS Miracle, and I was looking, I saw that and circled Slew, of course, and she's 23, so she's up there. But kind of neat just seeing Seattle Slew in the PPs today. That's a name you're just not going to see all that often in 2020.
Yeah, it's always amazing when you see that, and you're great at pointing those things out. You see these horses, say, oh, my goodness. I remember one was a couple of months ago you pointed out as one of my favorite, I can't think of the name right now, go, holy mackerel, that horse is still has, sires or damn sires.
Well, with you growing up, was Slew one of your favorite horses?
Oh, yeah,
or did you not? Were you one of the people that didn't think he was all that good?
No, I love Seattle Slew. He was just fantastic. And, that was when I was a huge fan, not like now. Just wanted to bet every minute of every day. And Seattle Slew was part of my plan.
Yeah, before my time, I still think, and we'll get on to the second here. I know we got a lot to get to. I think of that Marlboro Cup with the Firm and Seattle Slew, 2 Triple Crown winners in the starting gate together. Just unbelievable. Let's get on to the second. And as we hit the main track today, first and foremost, even though you've got Paney Price in the 10th and what looks like a really loaded 2-year-old turf allowance in the 9th, maybe the horse I'm, in a way, kind of like a funny way, I'm looking forward to most to seeing what he does on the card, generally speaking, is the 1 Bold Envoy. I didn't pick him. You didn't pick him. What do you make of him, though, Ronnie, reuniting with Todd Pletcher all these years later on the cusp of his 7-year-old birthday?
Well, what I found interesting, and, it's just he's not in for the claim today. He's not, so they're saving him today, and he's coming back. He's been training sharply up at Palm Beach Downs. He's looking to rebound from a pair of really poor showings in May and June. Louis Sayers in the saddle today, and I like the fact that they have plans for this horse in the future.
Absolutely. We'll see. It's been a little over 3 years ago since he ran his best ever race, and that was for Todd here in early December 2017. That's the Inside Bold Envoy. Right next door, and there's 3 key contenders, the 1, 2, and 6. Ronnie and I both have them boxed up first through third. You and I, Ronnie, both picked the 2 Reserve Not Attained. Dirt races have been good. He's coming out of a salty field against Joe DiBaggio. He looked pretty solid to me on paper.
Yeah, he had a little trouble. He steadied at the half-mile pole in that race. It's Paco again from Mike Yates, and really runs well here. He's a 2-time local winner, but I think he's 5 for 5 in the money at Gulfstream Park. Wickster's Dream for Rohan, just having a great fall campaign. New claim for him with Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle.
We'll get back on the turf for the third, a $50,000 to $40,000 maiden claimer, and I think although different situation or different looking horses, there's a similar sentiment going in regarding a layoff and a dip down in class off Bold Envoy, and that concerns Makasupa, who you and I both picked. Key early scratch in this race, and maybe the biggest in-the-body scratch on today's card is the number 4, Witch Moon, who I picked, and I looked. I know you picked that filly as well, and you and I are both scratching into Makasupa. Here's her last race, and if memory serves, I think you liked her back on April 19th. I feel like this E5 horse, and she ran a great race from post 10 and was just outfooted by the Mike Matz trained, or I think that was Ian Wilkes actually, and followed the flag. No, that was Matz. Let Them Eat Cake was the Wilkes horse down inside. But Makasupa ran well in this race, and if I may look that up, Ronnie. I think she was your long shot, and she was almost 10 to 1. What do you make of her coming back off this layoff of nearly 8 months?
Yeah, I mean, she ran exceptionally well back there. She's making that first start. that was during April, March and April, and that second place finish that we just showed for David Fawkes, Tyler Gaffleone, handling the return. I wanted to, I've had her on my ticket and wanted to watch when I thought it was a perfect spot for the horse that scratched, but that's going to be for another day. So I'm expecting this horse to run well.
And Cat Lady makes sense. She's got speed. She's in off a little bit of a layoff for trainer Fausto Gutierrez. I'll tell you, if there is a little bit of a new face wild card on the turf, it's definitely the 3 Zoology, who is just bred up, down, and sideways to improve this afternoon in her turf debut.
Yeah, half-sister to admission officer, multiple grade 2 stakes place runner, drops to the 50 level, had a little trouble at the start. Interesting to see how that horse runs this afternoon. But big scratch, but I think we got the logical 3 on our ticket.
Definitely. Let's move on to the 4th here. A compact cast, more or less, in this Florida-bred dirt-bound maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies, in which, for me, I drew the race up of there being 2 very well-connected second-time starting fillies coming in from Gulfstream Park West. Your horse, who you have in second in the 1 Uncaptured Heart for Ralph Nix, and your top pick, the 7, Think It Through, knocking heads with the 3 Jade Empress, who's a Florida-bred, who's timed it pretty tough. She's had a tough go of things in 3 races up in the Big Apple. Obviously, all of them were open company 2-year-old maidens, 1 at Saratoga and 2 at Belmont. Starting out, though, Ronnie, with Think It Through, why don't we go back to her last start, and I'll throw it over to you as we check out trainer Saffie Joseph Jr. with a filly who, just keep in mind, the big 2-5 favorite in this race was Dema Wonder, Yellow Cap, who bolted and got out. So, although I think Saffie's filly, Saffie Joseph Jr., his filly here, Think It Through, ran great and just got a little tired, this race probably didn't play out as tough as it was on paper, obviously, with the big odds-on favorite not finishing.
Yeah, she ran well. She actually had the lead up, as you saw, going into the turn, but the 3-horse got that trip and just closed out there. So I just thought Think It Through, a daughter of Overanalyze and a half-sister to that Grade 1 stakes place, Axelrod debuts, made that middle move, as I mentioned, finished it. That turned out to be a good race, actually. Produced a couple of next out winners. Saffie's pretty good with his maidens making their second start. He's over 25%.
Well, you had the stat yesterday with
that's right.
Moonlight Strike, or at least second-time starters in general, right?
Yeah, just incredible stat, and it came through fruition. Hard for me to say, but Think It Through on top of my ticket today.
And Ralph's horse, Ralph Nix, that is, down on the rail. If you want the speed with Corey Lannery, it's probably going to be the 1 Uncaptured Heart, who was beaten by a Saffie Joseph horse last time out in their respective debuts in 2-T. That race has had a couple of next out winners, and clearly the appeal with Jade Empress, not that she's run all that great as the 3-horse here, is the fact that she's trying Florida breds for the first time in her first start down here. A bit of a homecoming for Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. And with the first 4 down, we'll take a little breather here in Gulfstream Park today. It's all about that $500K plus guarantee after this. Sun is shining here. Take a look at that live shot, Roddy. I mean, it almost looks like a painting.
Yeah, those clouds are unbelievable. I can never get over clouds. I can't figure them out. They're just so interesting to me.
Thank you very much. You strike me as somebody that got an A+ in earth science across the board.
Definitely. But look at that beauty. You're right. It looks like a picture.
Yep, it absolutely does. As we get down to business, my friend, and a hearty welcome back on just an idyllic type day for racing down here on this second Friday of the meet with Ronnie and Jason. We've got ground to cover, not only the lightning round, not only pay any price. Let's start the Rainbow Six, my friend, $550K, the guarantee.
Yeah, I got a $43.20 ticket, and I used a 1, 2, and 7 in here. And I just happened to notice, Jason, they're all sons or daughters of sons of Hard Spun. All three horses that
Oh,
I
that's
picked
pretty cool.
in that
I like
race.
that.
I don't think I've ever done that before. Too deep in race number 6 with Uncaptured Soldier and Master Q. I think that number 2, Jimmy Smokes Carrot, is going to run well today. So I like that horse. I used a 2 in there. Also used the 4, Wicked Mercury. And then in race number 8, I found this wide open with the scratch earlier today. Hearts and Flowers, Takes 2 to Wiggle, and My Little Rose. And then What Makes Sammy Run and Risk Manager in race number 9. And in the last, I'm going to try and beat the big horse here. Today's making its final race, Panty Price. Just think that if I can get my long shot home, Mr. Tip for Jack Sisterton is 20 to 1 on the morning line. See, as anybody will see, a lot of speed in that race. This course is a closer, so maybe I get lucky with that horse.
And Jack Sisterson running Channel Cat here tomorrow afternoon in the Fort Lauderdale. Congratulated Jack on his upset win with the somewhat ageless True Timber, who has just kept hitting hard all these years and got that elusive Grade 1 win in the Cigar Mile last Saturday up in New York, and that horse bound for the Pegasus Dirt on January 23rd. I would imagine many of the riders looking down, I see Paco's name in the 5th. He'd love to ride both Pegasus races, and he's on in a way, not the horse that I picked, your top pick, in the inside posted Hard Red Candy, but I think as you work your way through, for me anyway, Ronnie, the narrative essentially began with this gelding by Hard Spun just because of his post, Paco, and that early speed.
Yeah, going back to the turf, breaking, as you mentioned, from the rail with the speed needed to steal this race from on or just off the pace. That was my thought in this race. Jane Sabelli, Paco, named gelded son of Hard Spun.
Hard Spun. You've got the Roger Atfield trained gelding by Hard Spun, a 3-year-old right next door, and Please Call Me Back, a shipper coming down from Woodbine, who, again, Ronnie, clearly our opinion with that horse very similar. Good fit here, I felt as though, running at Gulfstream for $50K.
Yeah, makes his local return. First start, he rallied to finish second against those money allowance runners that go in the mile in the 16th. Up at Woodbine on the turf, as you mentioned, Roger Atfield. Now, I think this one picks up the pieces. I saw it as the best stalk or closing the race behind if Hard Red Candy gets hounded on the front end.
The 5 Battalion, couple of key ever-changing variables with this gelding by Tiz now. And I get there might be a little bit of urgency here in a horse who's trying to find a little bit of an identity because he just hasn't run well in his last 2 races for Saffie Joseph Jr. But here's the thing. He's not a dirt horse, so I just drew a line like many will do, I would imagine, through his last race. And I'd like to think the first spot for this barn off the claim in early October in Keeneland or at Keeneland, 9 might be pushing it on the turf a little too far. He didn't break great, and he was probably just simply over his head to begin with, and that non-win is a 1. He's in for the 50, and I think Battalion, much like Roger Atfield's horse, is just a snug fit running for that $50K claiming tag. Halfway home here as we fly past the half-mile pole with 5 down and 5 to go, and we attack this late pick 5. I'm going to single Panty Price. I really enjoyed watching him run the last 3.5 years since I moved to New York, and by my count, got to see him race up until this point, I think almost 20 times in person, and I think he's the speed of the speed on ground that he excels on. He likes it firm. This turf course is firm, and I built this play around him in the back end. But the 9th race is not a standalone 2-year-old allowance race by any stretch. That's a very good field and clearly a stakes prep for our pretty lucrative 3-year-old turf stakes program in 2021. And I'll begin, Ronnie, using the 4 and 6 in this opening leg. This race, if I'm being honest, I think confused me a little bit because there's not a lot of form, and clearly you and I were kind of leaning into 2 horses that are not going to be big prices, where the 4 Master Q, he's probably run the best races to this point, and this might be the most modest field he started against. And I would imagine, Ronnie, you're expecting, like I am, the 6 Uncaptured Soldier with the dry track today off the sloppy debut, second out, to just be far better and professional.
Yeah, but gets its claiming tag cut in half and wear the blinkers this afternoon. As you mentioned, showed some early interest, faded against those 25 career debut, going 6 in the slop for Jorge Delgado. Tyler in the saddle today. Tyler, a couple of wins on yesterday's card. Master Q, for the reasons we were pointing out, turning back to 5.5. Proved third when facing similar course down for Gustavo Bravo Amaya, and you're getting Victor LeBron in the saddle. So I in my Rainbow Six, as you saw, I used the same two that you did in your late pick 5.
And you're obviously ready for a little Jimmy Smoke Carrot as we turn the page and move on to Friday 7. This is a very difficult and pretty deep, actually. I think for the level, 2 lifetime mile and a 16th claiming race where the tags for these 3-and-up fillies and mares are 35 down to 25,000. You know, I don't know about Jimmy Smoke Carrot being the favorite. In fact, I think I'd be surprised if she was, because there are 2 very, very key Kentucky invaders, one for Mike Maker in the 5 Sunset Promise, the other for Brian Lynch in Trish the Dish. She's the 6. They are both down in class, and I felt as though like the schematics began with the both of them. But what do you do with the 2 Jimmy Smoke Carrot, who, again, was a massive favorite first out for Chad Brown, won her debut back in the springtime. We have not seen her since as she resurfaces for a new trainer.
Yes, she's in Jose D'Angelo's barn. His daughter of Turbo Compressor makes her first start, as you mentioned, broke her maiden year. And it was at first asking against those state-bred special weight runners during February. I looked up a stat on Jose D'Angelo. I was curious to see what it would be over the last couple of years. With first after a trainer switch, all levels, he's 5 for 14, 36%, 57% in the money, $2.22 is the return of investment. And Louis Sy is atop this Thomas Coleman homebred. Well, maybe, you know, he owns it, he bred it. Maybe that's the reason he put it on the shelf for a while, coming back. Maybe it runs well.
Yeah, I'm curious because she is a Florida bred. She is a half the Zevo, who Tom also, and Tom's a great guy. Tom also bred and raised Zevo. He sold a Beautiful Lover, I think, for $375K out of this same dam. So this is a very solid broodmare and just overall very solid homebred type family. And the fact that she's a Florida bred, long layoff aside, that still has that fairly rich non-winners of one allowance condition, that restricted condition, that confused me a little bit with Jimmy Smoke Carrot off the layoff in for the $35K. So I'm going to take a shot right next door to the 4 Wicked Mercury. And my argument, Ronnie, is just this is a filly who seemed to be, prior to this little layoff, which probably clocks in basically 3 months on the nose, it just seemed like later in the Jersey meet for Jane Sabelli, like Wicked Mercury really started to get the hang of things.
Yeah, she makes her local return to Wicked Mercury after that. As you mentioned, that summer campaign, consistent summer campaign up in Monmouth. She followed a pair of second-place finishes with that $40,000 Hartford special weight score at 1 mile and a 16th, so she was right there at the wire in all the 3 races. And Paco will be in the saddle today, and along with Sunset Promise, who used in second, making her local return, first race since returning from a layoff up at Keeneland and coming up empty against those allowance runners. I think the drop is going to help this horse, especially against 2 lifetime competition.
Yeah, her 2020 campaign has been a little nondescript, but could quite simply and bluntly be just simply a different ball game in for the $35K. On to the main track we go. Our last dirt race is a 2 lifetime 6250 claimer for the 3-and-up fillies and mares. I lost my top pick here, an early scratch of the 1 Starship Blanca. And I do think without Starship Blanca, who may have been favored or certainly a shorter price for Jesus Lander, you know, the 8 Hearts and Flowers, Ronnie, your top pick, is probably the filly they're going to have to get around. And I don't know, moving from a sloppy track, which she perhaps didn't love all that much, even though she won, I thought she'd be a little closer to the pace and drew a good post to track out there for Victor Barboza Jr.
Well, she steps up to the next level. What I like, she rallied between horses to defeat a pair of next out winners, going 6. Of course, on that sloppy main track, of course, down at Gulfstream Park West. For Victor, Miguel Vasquez going for 2 in a row. You know, a horse we're very fond of, the number 4, Takes 2 to Wiggle. Don't start laughing again, Jason. Wheeling back, hoping to improve on that recent spate of third-place finishes for Steve Budo and MCL Jaramillo in the saddle today. And I, too, like the one that was scratched out of there, Sasha Blanca.
Yeah, we hope the Wiggles are doing okay. I'm going to keep it together on the air. Misael does ride. Misael Jaramillo does ride Takes 2 to Wiggle, who is 1 post inside of my top pick in the 5, Beautiful Rosie. I don't know about the field she beat first out. There were a lot of, like, long-time maidens, and I think still long-time maidens in that field from back on October 17th at Gulfstream West. But she got a figure that stacks up favorably with this field. She won going 7 first out, and she also won for a trainer not historically known for popping even in a lower level maiden claimer right out of the box. So there's that, and I drew a line through that post 12-12 turf race. She's back on the dirt. I'll take her for trainer Steve Dwoskin. Ninth race, very solid. I mean, outside of Penny Price with his swan song in the 10th, this is like the lit up marquee race on today's card, and really much like yesterday's 8th race on the dirt, strikes me as more or less a stakes prep moving forward for these youngsters, as we do have a pretty comprehensive and very lucrative 3-year-old turf stakes program that begins in 2021. Let's start, Ronnie, with your top pick. We don't have a replay. I didn't pull the replay, the maiden win 2 back of George Weaver's horse in the 4, What Makes Sammy Run, but I feel pretty comfortable saying he should be favored and is the horse to beat. And you'll hear from George a bit later on, and I'm curious, Ronnie, George thought in hindsight 6 furlongs on the turf, not what this horse wants to do, and he's obviously getting a little more distance today.
Well, he's going to stretch out to the mile after a pair of pretty nice races, but turf sprints. He's the son of Wee Miss Artie, who broke his maiden going 7 furlongs at Belmont, and as I mentioned, ran 3rd going in the 6th furlong, $100,000 Atlantic Beach. So he's going to stretch out. You're getting Louis Saez handling the added real estate today, and just thought that the stretch out to the mile was going to really be beneficial for this horse.
No, George said the same thing. He said, I just think he didn't like having to be hard ridden from the gate in that last out race in the Atlantic Beach, and he's pretty confident we're going to see something more in step to that blowout 7 furlong win 2 back at Belmont Park for the 4, What Makes Sammy Run. We've also got trainer Mike Maker, who's got a homebred for the Ramseys, a colt by Looking at Lucky. I hadn't seen Risk Manager, the number 3 horse, win this race we're about to bring you live, but watching the replay, I was pretty impressed with this colt, who, almost ran like a horse, like an older horse who had been over there and had done this thing, 20 or 30 times in the past, pocketed up with Tyler. Tyler's still sitting on like a powder keg right now, and this kind of turned into a paid afternoon workout run. I mean, this horse was very sharp, tipping out in the 3 path, and he'll kick clear for just a very convincing win going around that 2-turn mile on the Keeneland turf course.
Yeah, you'll just see him cruise under the wire here as, he got one little right-handed slap there just to get him interested in the stretch run, and was very, very impressive in there. Tyler Gaffleone certainly going for 2 in a row.
There's 3 key horses, and all of which are out-of-towners, which makes this, it's like there's almost like these warring factions that are meeting on the Gulfstream Park Turf Battleground because of the out-of-towners. Rodolphe Brisset has the 5 Tarantino, and we'll backtrack to early October out at the Great Race Place, and you'll see this horse chasing between in those Mataket colors right there, the aqua cap, and I have no real qualms, although I don't know about the quality of this field. I think that's the one thing that confused me a little bit. Because this race didn't come up all that fast in terms of the figure, but visually, this horse was very game and very stubborn between, Ronnie. That's the 5 Tarantino.
Yeah, and that was while he was in the Bob Baffert barn, so you're really impressive $610,000 son of Pioneer in an aisle. So just coming here for Rodolphe, and I think he can run well in this spot. And you mentioned there's the 3 logical horses, and yeah, would not be shocked if any one of these 3 won it.
Yep, and does the 2 Sir Roberto. It seems like Brian Lynch is live all day long. I mean, he's got a number of horses that can make some noise after winning the 9th race here yesterday. Does that horse make his presence felt in off an upset win at Kentucky Downs first out? Excellent 9th race. So we move on to Penny Price and company, and this is another salty turf sprint allowance, all the more magnified and important because one of the best Florida breds and certainly turf sprinters in the last half a decade is calling it a career at the conclusion of the last race today. And here's Penny Price's last start. That was the July 5th turf sprint. Loves this turf course, and I'll tell you, Ronnie, I think a lot of people may have been ready to write this horse off to an extent in this race, and he'll hold on and fight his way to a narrow victory beneath Edgar Zayas, because he had that meltdown last February at Tampa Bay Downs, came back, didn't break all that alertly in his May 23rd prep for this turf sprint that he just held on in, and ran 3rd as the favorite in that spot. And I think some people were ready to kind of just write him off, but he showed he still got it. And like I said, drawing up the race, I thought he'd be quick enough to make the lead, and he's better on firm ground, even though he got it done on rain-softened turf in the replay we just checked out.
A lot of speed in the race. Got a stat that I just put together that I wanted to see how just Paying Price alone did for Georgina Baxter, coming off a 61 to 180 day layoff after the last couple of years. 2 for 4. Those are both 2 wins, 50% win average, 100% in the money, and a $1.40 return of investment. You know they bet this horse all the time. So I just wanted to see what that looked like in there. What I'm trying to do, Jason, is with Mr. Tip, my long shot for Jack Sisterton, showed some late interest in a pair of 75 optional claimers up on the Arlington Park turf. He's a recent gelding. He gets the pace today to sit behind the speed. If Paying Price is on his game, he wins it. If not, and he gets hooked in a duel, maybe it sets up for a horse like this with a strong finisher, Julian Leparoux, in the saddle.
Quarky's going to take some money down inside. He's pretty sharp, or was pretty sharp, up in the Mid-Atlantic for Mike Deeney. Cryogenic, the 2 who I have second. If you want an off-the-pace horse like Ronnie's strategy is, I thought Cryogenic might come with the run. Fascinating race, and it really is going to boil down to Paying Price. Is he able to blast off and get that trip that he prefers, setting the tempo? We'll see if anybody can keep up with him early on. As we dive in, much like a Paying Price, I mean, we'll just roll into this Friday, December the 11th lightning round here on a fast and firm day at Gulfstream Park. And our first order of business, Ronnie, is a quick recap of a potentially very important 2-year-old allowance race here late yesterday afternoon, in which trainer Saffie Joseph Jr. ran 1-2. I know Moonlight Strike barely beat his stablemate Kiger. I just think Moonlight Strike was under the gun every step of the way in this race.
Yeah, he had to put back some logical contenders in there, and he did. He was hounded, and it was a good performance. You're going to see him in stakes company.
Definitely. Perhaps the Mucho Macho Man here on January 2nd, a race Saffie won last January with Chancet, who is on the comeback trail. We'll see him in 2021 here at Gulfstream Park. You know me, I love Twitter polls. I love polls. I love history. I love being like a racing purist. And what better poll to get involved in than the Eclipse 50 contest over at NTRA.com. You've got a chance to pick your top 10 favorite Eclipse Award champions in the last half a century. And off the top of my head, Roddy, I'm going to give it away. Holy Bull wins everything for me. Holy Bull and Cigar.
Oh, what a shock.
Yep, what a shock. And maybe a little Uncle Mo in there as well.
I will have Cigar somewhere in there, that's for sure.
I know he's your favorite horse of all time, and you're sitting not too far from that Cigar statue right outside the walking ring.
Yeah, just a,
he's still over there?
No, he's around the
you
corner
looking.
now. He's around the corner right now. I can spot him sometimes.
So Paying Price, glad this is kind of going to be like not only a Cinderella-type career with a former claimer who's just had, especially in the spring, summer, and fall on this circuit, has just had a stranglehold regarding the 5-furlong turf sprint division locally at Gulfstream Park. You know, he's been a neat horse to watch ascend to great heights, but I also love the fact that Rich Averill and company are turning this horse back over after the last race today to Brent and Crystal Furnung, who have their farm in Ocala and originally bred Paying Price.
Yeah, that's the great part of the story. And what a job trainer Georgina Baxter has done with this horse. This horse is infamous for being really, really goofy. This horse had to be
and
trained.
Nasty, like a rogue,
nasty. Had
you
to
know?
be trained out there. You could come here 9:30 in the morning, and you'll see Georgina on his back at 9:30 because he couldn't be around any horses. But certainly he was just a fantastic. And it's good to see him going home, and he'll be cruising out there each and every day up there in Ocala.
Definitely in greener pastures, not only for Paying Price, but check out this story that somebody informed us about yesterday with an old mare. In back to front. She never won a race, and somehow Florida Track, through DNA testing, was able to reunite her to her previous owner. That's her granddaughter, in fact, who rode this horse in a dressage contest and got first prize. Really, I mean, I can't say enough great things about Florida Track, Ronnie. I really can. And I had a big smile on my face reading this story, which is up on the GulfstreamPark.com website.
Yeah, 17 years old, and this horse coming back. And, of course, you saw the theme was Halloween theme there, and her granddaughter dressed as a princess. And you see the horse dressed as a unicorn.
I love it, with the unicorn spike there. No, really, really great stuff, and kudos to Florida Track. And as we say, aftercare is just just so important. And if you can support them and aftercare in general in any way, it is much appreciated, and it goes a long way. Looking ahead, mega Saturday here. I feel pretty comfortable saying it is the deepest card, biggest day of racing we've had on this circuit in over 8 months, going back to the Curlin Florida Derby with Tiz the Law and Company. And leading the charge is that key Pegasus Dirt Prep, the Grade 3 Harlan's Holiday. How about Tatweez, Ronnie, stepping up and trying the big boys? I mean, as a yearling, he cost $2.5 million. It's taken him a while to find his stride, but, man, he really looked good here over the summertime.
He did, and he started his campaign as a 4-year-old, and Edgard rode him in all 4 of those races, and you could just see, and listening to Edgard, we interviewed him a couple of times, the horse just showed progress in each and every start. He learned as he went along, and he could be very tough in there, and you're going to get 4 to 1 on Tatweez. I know, I think you may have picked him.
I picked him. Yeah,
I know a lot of other
tomorrow.
people, I said, I'm going with Tatweez, so you won't be the only one. He's going to take some money.
No, I think this is a good spot to try some of the bigger boys. Tax and Fat Man have been fine throughout their careers, and Math Wizard does have that PA Derby. But none of these horses have been in overall, like, crazy sharp form. So Tatweez may just time things appropriately. The Fort Lauderdale, though, is the Grade 2 on tomorrow's afternoon, the afternoon program here tomorrow on Saturday. And you've got 10 ready to rumble in what shapes up and plays out as a Pegasus Turf Prep. This is the best race on the card, led, of course, Ronnie, by 2 horses dropping out of the Breeders' Cup Mile in Factor This and Halliday on the outside.
Yeah, just a great race as we've been talking about. I went with a 8-1 shot in there, and that's breaking the rules for Sugar McGay, who's really does an excellent job. His first horses that start at the Gulfstream meet going to have to run its best to beat some of the horses in that race.
We had a fairly chalky Stronach 5, minus 1 good-priced or 2 good-priced winners last week, and you've got a $3,600 or got a $3,600 payoff. And it's all about, I mean, Laurel Park and Gulfstream. We volley just back and forth, and that'll begin a bit later this afternoon at about 3:50 Eastern with the 8th up in Maryland.
Yeah, we'll be running them quickly, and 3 of our races, as you mentioned, 8, 9, and 10 on our card, are part of that Stronach 5 sequence.
And how about Pete Aiello, who has been patiently waiting and standing by up in the announcer's booth here at Bucolic Gulfstream Park. Ronnie and I, along with Acacia Courtney, great having Acacia back. We'll see her before the first race, but we got to go up to the big man for those Friday scratches and changes.